Hello, and welcome to a Light Warriors Academy feature presentation. Today I have a treat for you. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Samantha Gillis, and I am the founder of the Light Warriors Academy, and I am bringing on a gentleman with a sense of humor. His name is Jon Sansone. I hope I pronounced that right. He is a sales professional of 31 years. He has successfully met and succeeded his goals in some very, very exciting industries. He has a degree in advertising, and he spent the last 31 years being a student of Tony Robbins, Tom Hopkins, and Zig Ziglar. I think we have something in common on that one. He started working in the industry in industrial chemical sales in his early 20s. He grew that business from 0 to 300 repeat customers over a 5-year time period. That's pretty impressive if you ask me. And he does that simply by reaching out and connecting with his prospects. After 31 years, I think he knows what he's talking about. So after he had all of this experience, he had ventured into the information technology sales, where he worked with many 500 and 100 companies, and he can say that Mark Cuban's company was a customer. In the last 16 years, he worked for a successful consulting business where he gets to work with many high network individuals and organizations. He is the father of 2 sons, been married for over 26 years. He is debt-free and only a few years from retirement. Last year, he wrote the book called Sales Warrior and has recently decided to launch a comedy channel on Streamyard and YouTube. Please let us welcome in Jon Sansone. Hello, and welcome, Jon. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely, Samantha. Glad to be here. It's quite exciting.
Well, thank you so much. Your resume is just so impressive. 31 years of being in the sales industry. I would definitely go as far as to say you have an expertise in this area, and I would love to hear a little bit more about it from you.
Yeah, I think the main thing about sales that's lost on a lot of individuals, unfortunately, is it's really about understanding what the customer, the client wants and needs, and doing a lot of active listening, doing a lot of research for the client, and really ultimately and authentically showing that you care.
Yeah, I love that you bring that up, because something that I actually had this conversation with another sales professional just the other day about how we went from being such a customer service based community to being really materialistic and really consumer driven. But that pendulum really is in a swing right now, and people want to connect to other people. Would you agree, or how do you feel about that comment?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the best things that was ever mentioned to me when I first got into sales, and it was in my early 20s in the industrial chemical business, we had a meeting with my very first sales manager, and he blew my mind with this comment, because when you're in college, you're thinking, I'm going to get out, I'm going to work for a great company, and if you go into sales, you're like, I'm working for a great company, people are going to buy from me because of the company. And he made the comment, and it's resonated with me almost every day of my life in my professional sales career. And he said, you know what? People do not buy from other companies. People buy from other people.
Yeah, truer words haven't been said. And one of the big things, at least for me, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs come up against, is that drive for the money. Like they feel like it's sleazy to ask, but the way that you're framing it and the way that you're expressing it is that it really is serving your people. It's about caring for them and not about being greedy and in that space of
Right.
need. So what would you say has been one of your biggest challenges that you've had to overcome in this industry?
See, I love that question, because when I first started thinking about that, I was thinking about, like time management, the things that people think about, how much is how much intellectually do you know about your product? And I came to the conclusion that those are obstacles, but those are stepping stones for the main obstacle in business. And the main obstacle in business is your own self-esteem and your own self-worth. If you don't have good self-talk, particularly in the sales business, where you're getting rejected, every single day of your life. I mean, I have gone through rejection every single day of my life, starting in my early 20s. And instead of letting it get me down, I'm going to say it's like picked me up. I mean, I am a super strong person. If I get into a confliction type of situation, I've been through so many confliction type of situations. I have just a skill set to just kind of calm down and logically think through it all. And it's from being in sales. But the biggest obstacle is not what you might think it is. The biggest obstacle is your own view of your own self.
That's so true. I remember, and not a lot of people will know this about me because I don't bring it up a lot. But one of my first sales positions was doing the door-to-door vacuums. And
Oh, wow. That's impressive.
you've got to have a thick skin for that industry because you're going to have a lot of doors slammed in your face. But you're absolutely right. It is, if you're willing to stay in the game and work your way through it and really build that skin, it can take you so many different places. So what's a technique that maybe you used to help condition yourself through that rejection process?
Over the years, I've developed an amazing amount of like self-talk. In some of the self-talk is, like if I'm feeling stressed out, I'll say things to myself like, "Hey, you're really good at what you do," and I'll just say it to myself, and not egotistically, but I know it will help me to perform better, particularly when things aren't going my way, and in sales that happens. I'll say other things that are like really good. I'll say like, "You're a really smart guy," and I'll say it to myself, but I'm not saying it out loud. But I'm a big proponent of that. I mean, I mentioned this in my book. I talk about how you have to have your big three, Samantha. And I truly believe, if people can get themselves to the point where their self-talk is amazing, they'll have amazing income and an amazing business. As long as they're in a good business and they're doing something ethically for their customers.
I think that is so well said. So well said. So would you say that's been one of your greatest accomplishments, or what would you say would be one of your greatest accomplishments that you've achieved so far?
Yeah. And I thought about that too. And I was like, certainly I have financial rewards, and those are fantastic. I mean, I paid my house off before, I'm in my mid 50s. So I paid my house off before I was 60 years old. And so I'm virtually debt free. And that's an amazing feeling. That's a huge accomplishment. But I would say, like, having a good sense of self and knowing like what I'm capable of and what I'm interested in. And then two, like some of the things I say to myself, like, how do you motivate yourself to go after more business when like virtually I really don't. I mean, it's weird for people to hear this, but I don't need a lot of extra money. And I know that's strange, but it's just a point at which I've reached in my life. So what I do is I go after opportunities that jazz me, and they tend to make me a bunch of money. But I say that to myself, like, what would really jazz me? Like, what kind of client or customer am I interested in having? And those are the ones I work for and go after and that kind of thing. So I'm into doing things that I really enjoy. And that's kind of how the podcast came out, because probably like you, I've joined a bunch of Facebook groups with other entrepreneurs, and it seems like everybody wants to be a life coach. And there's nothing wrong with that. But for me, I feel like people need to laugh. And I feel like I personally have a lot of funny stories. And so that jazzes me. And that's why I pursued it. And that's how you get, inspiration. You can't be inspired unless something is, driving you to do it. Like, I can't be driven just by money. I have to be driven by something that I enjoy doing.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And I feel you. And I think that any entrepreneur that watches this will be able to relate in that area as well. Is, we're the type of people that can't hold a job for the life of us, right? Because we get bored. We got to have that variety. We have to have that spark, that joy, that the know that something is greater than what we experience it to be. So it really sounds like to me that you have a core strategy that is played into achieving your success. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Absolutely, because I mean, literally every quarter, I have to use the same core strategy, and this is lost on a lot of folks, and it's so unfortunate. But any good success book that you read by Tony Robbins, by Zig Ziglar, if it doesn't say in it, including my book, Sales Warrior, that you need a written plan, and you need to be like really specific of what you're trying to achieve. And I had my written plan for 2020, and it ended like December 17th. I basically quit for the year. And when I came back January 4th, had another written plan, knew exactly who I was going to contact, knew exactly the type of business I wanted to do with those people that I was going to contact, and knew exactly the steps I was going to follow to do that business with those clients. And that is it's a proven way to be successful. Now, so there are sales gigs where maybe you can't say exactly who you're going to do business with. So then maybe it's more of what kind of people do you want to do business with? You got to really know like who is most likely to buy your product. And if you do that, you can work smart and not hard.
I love that. So it sounds like you have this incredible organizational aspect that you bring to your sales, to the way that you care for people, the way that you serve. I know for a lot of audience out there, niching that in can be a little bit of a challenge. Can you share a little bit about how you get yourself organized in your day to create your success patterns?
Well, first of all, it's all about state management. So that aligns itself really well with like self-esteem. So you got to know what jazzes you. And so like when COVID first hit, I'm working out of the house. And so, you're not getting up and going in a car and going anywhere, going into your normal office. And so I had like specific rock songs that I played to get me all like ready to rock and roll for the day. And then two, I streamed Tony Robbins. To this day, after 31 years in sales, I still stream Tony Robbins. There's something about what that guy says, even if the material itself I've heard 1,000 times, it just like connects with my inner drive. And he says things that resonate with me that makes me want to move forward. And that's what it's about. And so the organization, then I'm going to say that before you get organized, get a vision. What's your year going to look like? What's your month going to look like? What's your quarter going to look like? And then your day comes together. And then two, a big part, I think, of being successful long-term is like, I'm open to possibility. Like on a day-to-day basis, Samantha, I will have like a specific thing that maybe I have in my Outlook calendar that I'm going to do. And then maybe I take a walk with my dog at lunch and I say, you know what? this client hasn't been reached out to in a lot. Yeah, and it's just like, and it just comes to me. You know, ideas like this, creative ideas that can make me money, they come to me when I'm not forcing everything and open to possibility. That's the other thing. A lot of people aren't open to possibility and you know how great their business can be. And so they have preconceived ideas of how successful they might or might not be. I'm open to possibilities, kind of like you and I talking today. You know, this happened because I was so impressed with what I saw you doing on Facebook and comparing it to everything else I saw. I was like, wow, that would be somebody I should align myself with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I absolutely love that about surrounding yourself with the people that you want to grow into. It's the people that you surround yourself with, they're either keeping you where you're at or they're moving you forward, right? There's kind of no real in between. And if you want to grow into a certain area, and everybody has somewhere that they want to grow into, the best and greatest thing you can do is get a mentor, get yourself aligned with peers in those spaces, and it will just move you forward like that. I love that. What a great way to really hit a nugget on the head. So how do you think, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. I'm listening.
So how has leveraging these strategies really affected your ability to create growth within your business?
Well, it's duplicatable. So if you don't have a process, then you don't have anything that's duplicatable. Since I've been in sales so long, like most sales individuals are just like flailing, in my opinion. You know, flailing and failing, and sometimes flailing into success, and sometimes flailing into failing. And why they are is because they don't have a proven process, and they don't follow a process, and they don't refine a process. Like I'm constantly, any project I undertake, I'm constantly like refining the process, and I'm open to possibility. Like if you take my podcast, for instance, I was thinking, well, comedy podcasts, and that's all I had, you know, comedy podcasts. And I was like, okay, well, I'll be a host. And then I was like, I should do a co-host, and it should be a female co-host. And the reason is because I can play off of, you know, you got the male energy and you got the female energy, and women see something differently than men do. And you have an immediate audience on their side and on my side. And so that was just kind of the skeletal part of it, similar to like how I conduct my business. At first, it's just a skeletal idea of what I'm going to do. And then it starts getting more refined. And then like with the podcast, the next thing was 80s. Everybody loves the 80s. When I was a kid, everybody talked about the 60s. It was all about the 60s. We felt so insignificant because historically, it was like the 60s was the best decade ever. And nobody talked about the 70s when I was growing up. And while I was living through the 80s, everybody was just resonating on the 60s and the 50s. So everybody always reminisces about, you know, time in the past. And so then it was like the 80s. You know, I have an immediate audience of people that want to be reflect on that era that a lot of people think, you know, was a great time in the United States. So again, just kind of being open to possibility and in refining the process, and not flailing, you know, always moving towards a goal and something that's workable for you. So anybody that's attempting sales that has never done sales, or is doing sales now and kind of needs a leg up, I would strongly suggest reading and listening to positive motivational material first, and then going in and reading and listening to specifics on how to sell. Because if you don't have good state management, you just won't be successful in sales.
That's so true. I want to circle back.
Yeah, go ahead.
When I do this thing where I'm like, oh, I'm listening to speak. I just hate when I get into that space. But you were talking about your comedy broadcast here, And I want to hear how that ties into your expertise, because it really makes me excited that you are filling this area for people. So if we could
Yeah,
go a
sure.
little bit deeper into that. Again, I understand that the focus is on the 80s and that you want to make people laugh. Does this have a tie-in with your expertise to sales, or is it just going to be something that's fun and that you roll on?
Well, so as far as like my marketing schematic that I'm thinking through is, when it's going to be brought to you by, it's going to be brought to you by, um, the authored book by Jon F. Sansone, Sales Warrior. So I am going to be, advertising in my own podcast. Now the tie into sales. So I think to be a successful salesperson for 30 plus years, you kind of got to be funny. And the reason you do is because when you're talking about numbers and people spending money and everything, the more you can get your prospect and or client to laugh, and they like and they enjoy being around you. If it's either like I've done face to face and I've also done telephone sales, um, the easier it is to sell to them, because it breaks down their inhibition, and it helps them gain trust, and it lets them know, hey, you're a person. Like my whole thing is, when I am going through a sales process with somebody, if at all possible, if they're jovial at all, I try and take them down the comedy route. Whatever that might be for them, and get them laughing. Because life's short. I'm a motivational speaker too, and I think that's lost on so many people, because in your mid 50s you find that like not all your friends made it to their mid 50s, and two, you find a lot of your relatives that you thought would live into their 70s and 80s and even their 60s didn't even make it to their 60s, and you just really come to the understanding that life is short, and I tag that with life is for living. And so one of the reasons I did the book and one of the reasons I'm doing the podcast is I'm trying to live my life, at the fullest. And two, I'm trying to give back. I don't want all these ideas that have, benefited me and my family and that kind of thing, Samantha, to die with me.
I think that's so important. And really, that's what earned you a spot here on this broadcast here today, was the fact that it wasn't that you just reached out, because people reach out all the time, but it was how heart-centered you were. You came to me and you said things like, money doesn't matter to me anymore. I just want to make people smile. I just want to help them light up in their lives. And I just want that for myself. And really, that's what the Light Warriors Academy is really all about. It's about stripping away all of the extra, all of the must-haves, and just really discovering who you are and how you're of service to others, so we can really grasp onto each other and help lift each other up. It is the way
Exactly.
of the new world. It is. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I think it's a great academy that you're running, and I mean, there's just not a lot out there right now for people to grasp onto. If their family is not, motivating them or positive towards them, they're kind of lost in the world.
Yeah, and your environment means absolutely everything. Now, I do know that your book is available on Amazon,
It
and
is.
I'm sure if I direct people towards your email here at Sales Warrior Inspire, you would direct them towards your book. Is that about right?
That would be about right. Yeah. So it's just Sales Warrior Inspire at gmail.com. Feel free to, ask any questions, and Amazon has it set up so folks will be able to see my dedication to my mother, and some other family members that are super, and two, to see some, anecdotal information about, people who've been in contact with me during my lifetime. Some strong testimonials from people that I've worked with over the years, And then two, the intro to my book. And believe it or not, the intro to my book is funny.
And that's so good. We had this conversation before, you and I, John, about how important it is to let people laugh. And one of the things that people tend to, and you hit the nose on the nugget in this conversation here, is people tend to be serious when it comes to sales. And they get into that space of numbers and fear and, but really it should be a joyful process. And
Yeah, I've done right. Sure.
and that's what I love so much about you and this comedy broadcast that you're creating, is because people do need to experience more joy. It really is a piece of the puzzle that has kind of dissolved a bit over the past 15 years. And it's necessary for the human spirit to be able to relate, to be able to connect, to be able to thrive. So, John, I have to ask, what single strategy would you say you're best known for?
Okay, sure. I would say that particularly in business, if there's a difficult client, many times a difficult client or difficult customer is given to me. So the idea is give the difficult client or the difficult customer to me. And if I can't keep them with the organization, they don't feel like anybody can. The main reason is because I connect with them and I find out like what they really want. And honestly, if what they really want isn't provided and we wouldn't have, the specific products or services to serve them, then I'd be the first to admit it to them and say, hey, we don't have what you want. But if we do have what they want, if I'm actively listening to them and actively taking notes and letting them know that I am listening to them, because that's lost on a lot of people. Most people do not listen to other people. They just wait to talk again. And this is the way, over the time period that I've been in sales, that I've been able to keep the troubled customers. So I'm going to say that like over my lifetime, like most sales managers have given me the problem children.
That's so good. It just really shows your level of empathy and dedication to the customer, to the person on the other end of the receiving muscle. So thank you for that.
Oh yeah, sure.
So much, yeah, because it really is a big deal to know that there's people out there that are willing to go the extra mile to care, because like I said, it's just there's not enough of it today, and it's just
I agree,
so necessary. So now that we are in 2021, fresh start and all that, what is the number one strategy that you are implementing to create a fantastic 2021?
It's the reinvention of Jon Sansone. And it's primarily because I'm kind of bored. I mean, I've been doing the same gig right now for 16 years, and I've been in professional sales for 31 years. And so last year I began the process of becoming an author, and also of branding myself as a motivational speaker. I've always wanted to be a motivational speaker, but I never felt like, I could stop doing what I was doing and take a pay cut. And two, I just don't see myself as a coach. Really, I don't think want to coach anybody, but I would like to motivate and inspire people. So if I can create books and video casts and podcasts and be interviewed and it, gives somebody a leg up and they're willing to get out of bed in the morning and do something with their life, then I feel like it's a life worth living. The other thing that I did was, I don't know if you could see this, but I haven't been able to grow my hair long ever. Like the last time I grew my hair long, I was a senior in college, and I was on a beach somewhere, and I still didn't get to grow it this long because as soon as I got back, I graduated from college. was out looking for a job and I had to have a clean cut look. So I've had to have like a clean cut look, suit, tie, that whole thing, like the majority of my life. So for me, this COVID thing's been a blast because, you know, I can kind of, you know, look like a hippie, which is perfect for me because I'm a big fan of the 60s and the 70s. And that's a big part of my life. The music of those times is a big part of my life. And two, just the free way of thinking about life and not being so materialistic. I'm a big fan of that too. So the reinvention is kind of how I'm approaching 2021. I'm sticking with my proven strategies that I've been using. I thought about reading my book because I woke up January 4th and I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this again. And then I'm like, well, maybe I should read my book and get some inspiration.
So good. Yeah, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, I hate doing it, but I'm so glad to have done it, and I just kind of leave it there. I know
Yeah.
my book Repressed to Radiance, it's kind of the same thing where it's just like, well, maybe I should read it and get a little bit of my own dose of inspiration. I actually
Yeah.
do a lot of that with my refashion, and we talked about that through the
Mhm.
broadcast boot camp. Um, by the way,
Yeah,
you went through my
I did.
broadcast boot camp, and I have to just say how impressed I am with the direction and your willingness to just jump in and take this media by storm in creating your broadcast, in really stepping forward and being these inspiration to people, because that's, you know, it really is in the space of talking to one to talking to thousands, millions at times, right? And
Yeah.
I don't think that there's any better avenue to getting your message out to the world than through media, through digital media in general, whether that's video or however you choose to utilize the internet. The internet gets you in front of eyeballs. So I just want to take this opportunity and congratulate you on all of these incredible, impressive steps that you've taken towards your success.
Oh, thank you, Samantha. I mean, I thought your broadcast excellence 7-day course was fantastic for me. I mean, I came in late on it, and just and two, it was a good way to de-stress after coming off my year and doing something completely different and learning something that, you know, I had no background in at all, and I really need to retake it because you put so much information in it. You know, I feel like I got like the headings of the paragraphs and not the paragraphs. So,
Well,
but it's so much good information. I mean, I learned enough to be dangerous for sure.
oh, for sure. Look at you. You're doing amazing things from that little intensive. So good. But you do have lifetime access. So you don't have to worry about that. You can access it whenever you want. And that portal, it's ready for you. So I'm just mailing it out next. And
Oh, cool.
yeah. And again, you'll have that forever and ever. So how do people get a hold of you, Jon? This has been
Mhm.
so good.
Oh, yeah. You know, probably the best thing to do is they can do my Facebook business site at Sansone Enterprises. And so Sansone, Sansone, and then Enterprises. And that's one way. Just become a friend on my Sansone Enterprises Facebook group. Or they can email me at saleswarriorinspire@gmail.com.
Mm. So good. I'm sure you'll get someone who's going to want to hear more about your book. You've just dropped all kinds of gems and incredible nuggets here today, especially around just enjoying the process of sales. And I want to take this opportunity and say thank you so
Oh,
much
yeah,
for being here.
absolutely. You're very, very
Yeah.
welcome. Yeah.
And more than that, thank you for doing what you're doing in the world, because people need to smile more. People need this information because it really is going to be the shift into creating a better, more healthier society. And you know, as warriors, we got to band and stand together. So thank you again. Go email John at saleswarriorsinspire@gmail.com. He'll make sure that you get the link to get access to his book. And if you want any further information, just go to that facebook.com Sansone Enterprises. So thank you again so much.
Awesome.
You've got the last word. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
You know, I always like to tell people to be good to themselves, because a lot of times when you're so achievement oriented, that's the hardest thing to do is you know, to be good to yourself. But I'm a big believer, if you know the number one person you love is not yourself, it's going to be really hard to be successful. And a big part of loving yourself is being good to yourself. So, you know, whatever that might entail, an extra 10 minutes of relaxation a day, whatever it takes for you to be good for yourself and to be your own best friend, that's the best that's the best gift and the best advice I could give anyone, regardless of their business pursuits.
And I think that message is so important. What a great way to end the broadcast. Thank you again, Jon, so much for being here in the Light Warriors Academy.
Glad to be a part.
The best day possible. Bye for now.
Samantha. Sure. Bye-bye.